We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM, KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and now, our World Broadcasting Tag Team Champions of the World and a Cruiserweight Champion.
I'm Ethan.
I'm James.
I'm Rob.
And this is episode 153 of Beyond the Ropes. Of course, I'm your host, Ethan. You can find me on Twitter at EthanM95. You can follow James at
JHW Reporter.
And you can follow Rob at
Rob Flores Media. And don't forget the R2 DMs for Ethan.
Speaking of R-Truth, he dropped out this week. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. But let's talk about, first and foremost, acknowledging the tribal chief. Of course, we're talking about Roman Reigns.
John Cena? Oh.
No. Even Cena acknowledged the tribal chief. Because that's what he does. He acknowledges the tribal chief. Of course, we're talking about Friday Night SmackDown. Yes, part-time John Cena kicked off the show. Do you have some numbers for us, James?
He said, yeah, part-time John Cena did kick off SmackDown, and I think is mainly more responsible than Roman Reigns is when it comes to the boost in the ratings for Friday Night SmackDown. 2.1 million was the rating for SmackDown. I'll tell you right now. We'll get into some of the other numbers for Raw and NXT a little bit later, but of the three shows, that one's leading the way. Say what you want about Raw being the main flagship program for the company. SmackDown is definitely leading the way with John Cena being a big part of that, and maybe Roman Reigns having a little say in some of that as well.
Well, it's no surprise SmackDown is the highest rated show because of Roman Reigns and because, Lashley's WWE title reign. It says a lot. He's not bringing in the viewers. Nobody cares.
I mean, they are putting Goldberg in.
Goldberg wasn't even there last week. He's not to blame. He's not to blame. It's Lashley.
Yeah, so you're gonna sit here and call John Cena part-time John Cena.
Right.
I mentioned Goldberg, and you don't even.
Goldberg wasn't on the show.
I mean, so that's not even part-time. He's only been on there once. This run, he's already been on once.
Only on the Lesnar schedule, but even Lesnar pops some ratings once in a while.
I mean, but the thing is John Cena's doing something, even when he's not there. He's doing movies. Everything he does is still goes back to WWE.
He's doing the same thing over and over again. And speaking of that, Roman Reigns did cut a promo on Cena saying such. Okay. He even mentioned... did you watch the promo?
I did not watch the promo.
Did you hear what he said?
I try to avoid as much of what Roman Reigns is whatever his propaganda is for the week. I'm avoiding it as much as I can.
This promo on Cena was great. He mentioned missionary, which is great.
Okay.
We're talking about the act of missionary. And he mentioned it multiple times. It was great. He called Cena a nostalgia act, which is true. The same old Cena we've seen since 2005. He said he was disappointed. He thought he was going to get a new shiny coat of Cena, shiny coat of paint. And no, he
got a new T-shirt.
It's the same colorful T-shirt we get every time. It says "Hustle, loyalty, respect."
There probably has been a green one.
There's been a couple of green ones.
All right.
But he's basically saying it was the same thing over and over. He said it's like doing missionary every night. Roman Reigns, he said he doesn't roll like that. It's not what Roman does.
Okay.
He likes to mix it up. Apparently, we learned about the tribal chief last week.
Hey, sometimes promos are no disqualification, and
right. And then he did mention if he wanted to see Cena, he would Google 2005 John Cena if he wanted to see him, which is very true. So he tore Cena a new one, and he denied Cena of the main event spot at SummerSlam.
Now this I didn't hear about. Yeah.
However, he was quickly interrupted by the returning. Throw it up right here. You can see right here on the video. Doing the guns.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Finn Balor.
The Prince Finn Balor made out and made a challenge. And Roman was hesitant at first because he even said he thought, he said Paul Heyman said, you're going to come out and do what John Cena does and acknowledge your tribal chief. But Finn didn't do that. We got to see that the Prince come out and challenge Roman. And Roman accepted. This isn't happening at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask what's happened to Edge, but I already know what's happened to Edge because Edge is now very quickly out of the picture.
He lost.
I'm trying to think. Have we ever had Finn and Roman before? I don't.
Yes, Finn's first night on Raw. It was a fatal. No, it was actually against Roman Reigns, and he beat him his very first night on Monday Night Raw. 2016. And then he went on to win the Universal Championship against Seth Rollins at SummerSlam just a few weeks later.
Oh yeah,
Roman does also have. Okay. Roman does have a few victories over Balor. They competed again in the future, so I think that they've wrestled 3 times. So Roman is 2-1 on Balor, but Balor did pick up that first victory when he first showed up on Raw.
Okay.
And never. I mean, I guess technically he got his Universal title rematch, because he technically never lost it. But it's great to kind of go back to that, a different Roman Reigns, a different Finn Balor. I mean, different from what we got, a couple of years ago. It's NXT Finn Balor. If it's anything like that, it's going to be a great match. Again, fortunately, don't think it's going to happen at SummerSlam. It seems like they wheeled out Cena for a reason.
Yeah, but so if he's accepted the challenge, but we didn't get a date, we didn't get any understanding of when this may kind of be going. I mean, because we kind of know where we're going at with SummerSlam, right? We know it's going to be Cena and Roman. So where he's accepted the challenge of Finn, I'm assuming we're not setting up to have Finn in some sort of triple threat at SummerSlam with these other two.
It might happen on SmackDown.
And Finn is on Raw.
Oh, he's a SmackDown superstar.
He showed back up on SmackDown, right?
Had a solid match with Sami Zayn earlier in the night. Picked up the victory there.
That's right. So. Okay. I'm just trying to make sure because I'm just trying to make sure if Roman's a part-time guy too, because if Roman was this full-time guy you talk about, he'd be on both Raw and SmackDown. He'd be a real champion and be on both, but he's not.
Well, there's a split roster, of course. So it's not Roman's fault.
But you just dogged Bobby Lashley a minute ago.
Well, he's lazy. I don't know what to tell you. No, Bobby Lashley just isn't a draw. He's not a very good champion, sir. I'm going to tell you.
He has NBA players tweeting him, wanting to fight.
I saw that.
Bobby Portis, who is a well-known hand thrower and
no offense to him, but he's not like an MMA guy or a big football player like Roman. Like Roman's, guys that would come after Roman. He's a twig. I mean,
he's not no twig. He's a big boy, but he's known to fight with some of his own teammates on occasion. So
that's reckless, sir. I wouldn't want that guy.
I mean, he's playing for keeps. So who's to say he wouldn't play for keeps with Bobby Lashley too? I'm not saying he would beat Bobby Lashley.
See, even NBA players think Lashley is soft, and they're coming after him. They're not going after Roman Reigns.
That's fair. I'm not gonna argue with that one. I won't argue with that. That's fair.
They're talking trash about poor Lashley. I mean, it is what it is.
That's fair. I have no comment. I don't know.
But I'm looking forward to Reigns Finn. Hopefully, I would love for it to be at SummerSlam. It's probably just not going to happen, but it's going to happen one of these weeks or eventually. So, and speaking of SummerSlam, it was announced last week that SummerSlam will be in theaters. That's right. For the first time in a long time, they're showing WWE events. And I think, the UFC pay-per-views have been shown, right? They've been showing in the theaters, right?
No, not that I can recall. I mean,
because there's a theater apparently in Downey that's going to be showing UFC events as well as.
You know what? So when you brought this, you brought this up in the group chat the other day, and I just kind of thought maybe you're kidding or maybe you heard something. But I didn't hear too much about it after and other than when you said it. But I think what we're getting here is I did a little bit of reading on it, and apparently, so there's like a partnership that's been, because for whoever WWE still has on staff, they are working on some partnerships, and this was one of them. I'm blanking on the name of the partnership with WWE, but they helped put this together.
I've got sorry to interrupt. I've got Deadline, the Deadline story here. So I'll just read from there, just to give us some background here. WWE and Iconic Events, so that appears to be the brand, are bringing SummerSlam 2021 into theaters nationwide for the first time on Saturday, August 21st, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, live from Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. The shift to the big screen is the latest evolution of the WWE brand and how to interact with fans amid an ongoing pandemic. So, and then it kind of talks about how much money they made and, background. Basically, the pandemic also put movie theaters in red, including ArcLight Cinemas and Pacific Theaters opting to shutter. That's right. They're closed down. So that happened. So this is a new deal between WWE and Iconic Events to make maybe some more money here.
Yeah, I think part of it too will be it's just going to be a matter of maybe we start seeing a little bit more of this, especially as movies start, trying to come back, or whatever movies were in the studios. I mean, there's probably a lot of movies that just are maybe just now starting to get filmed again and whatnot. But I think maybe this, again, is something that they're trying to do. Actually, me and Rob had a little bit of a discussion about this kind of before the show took place today, before we started recording. And one thing that came to mind was, how much are they going to charge for this? So for SmackDown in the theater, how much would someone have to pay to watch it? Two things came up. One, there hasn't been a whole lot of promotion behind it. I feel, again, because I've just barely heard about it when you mentioned it in the group chat. But then also, how much is it going to, if it's $20 a ticket, like Rob is putting here in the Zoom chat, I would rather just pay for Peacock and get, $5 or the $10 one and watch it at home. And that would be better than going and watching in theater, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm seeing here, see if Fandango has anything. I mean, okay, so let me see, checking the ticket availability. The event is going to be $20 a ticket, according to Fandango, which is cheaper than the pay-per-view, but at the same time, as you mentioned, Peacock, you're paying $5, $10 with no ads, like I have. And so you're dealing with that. But at the same time, Peacock apparently, and I haven't had this issue, but apparently it does have some issues watching it live, connection-wise. So, I mean, at the same time, you're also going to theaters. You're supporting the theater. You're also going with a bunch of people, which in this day and age maybe isn't the best idea, but especially in California right now. But at the same time, you're getting the kind of that experience of going in a crowd like you would get going to Vegas. For instance, we weren't able to go to Vegas. James is, opting out. Apparently, but this would be another option for us to go get that experience. Obviously, we wouldn't be there in person, but surround sound, giant screen, I mean, that's probably as close as we're going to get.
No doubt about it. I think, though, too, I think it's a good idea just from the standpoint of, hey, you got a bunch of wrestling folks in a room, I don't know whether or not these theaters will be packed, every single one, with people, but hey, you get 15, 20 people rooting for different people, reacting to a show. I mean, I have never watched wrestling in a theater, so that would be a interesting experience. Just, even if you just do it the one time, I think that would definitely be a good experience.
AEW just had Double or Nothing in theaters. Actually, the theater closest. So they've had pay-per-views in theaters at least at one time. I think they've done it a few times, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know what that experience was like. Maybe if we search up YouTube, I'm sure people, post videos and stuff, see how that experience is like.
And they're not reinventing the wheel been done here. I mean, back in the day with closed circuit TV and not only Andre and Hogan, I mean, back in the day, if you weren't in Madison Square Garden or wherever, you're having these bigger events back in the day, they used to do the closed circuit TV with whatever's the theater next to the stadium, where they would kind of open up the theater to have more people in to watch it. So again, this isn't anything crazy new, but it's worth a try. You are supporting the theater. It can make for a good experience with the crowds and whatnot. But I just think, why would you not just buy Peacock for them. Like, I mean, I'd rather buy Peacock. I know, and I did see some people saying that they were having some trouble with it. But I was watching Peacock. I was watching it using Roku on the TV. So I have Roku, and then there's the app for Peacock, and I was watching it, and it was fine for the most part. We had a little bit of a hiccup where it kind of glitched out, but we just restarted the app real quick, and everything was fine. So I didn't experience that problem. I don't think it would keep me shy me away from Peacock altogether, or at least for a big event like SummerSlam, just to watch it in theaters. But I do think maybe this does open the door to the possibility of maybe getting some of those bigger events, or at least a SummerSlam and a WrestleMania in theaters going forward.
Absolutely. And I mean, there was a bowling alley that used to show WWE pay-per-views. I don't know if they still do, every month. And they would, you'd pay a certain amount and they'd have food. I don't know if they still do that, but they probably do.
I'm sure somewhere does it. I mean, if you have a wrestling fan, let's say, who owns a bowling alley, yeah. I mean, but again, if I owned a bowling alley, do cosmic bowling that night, and then you're bowling, you're watching it on their big screens. That'd be kind of cool.
So, I mean, it's a fun experience, I guess, being with other fans. It can be hectic if people get rowdy and stuff. Obviously, that could be the downside, and obviously you're paying a little more money as well if you're going to be spending money on drinks and food and all that. But it is possible, potential fun experience. So we're going to hit a quick commercial break just any minute right now. Before we do that, just want to say our condolences to the family of who I know him as Super Porky. I know many people knew him as that. He was a legend in Lucha Libre, as well as he had a short stint in WWE with the junior division and SmackDown, a very short-lived junior division. Apparently, he was the head. Yeah, I don't remember that either, James. I know you're thinking about it. This was I think, when they went to Channel 5 or something. It was a short-lived junior division. Only lasted a couple of months, but he was apparently the head of that division. He was a great comedic wrestler. He was a part of a trios with his two brothers who, had already passed away. So, he's reunited with them. But our condolences to him, and WWE even acknowledged him. And, a number of wrestlers, of course, Hispanic wrestlers specifically, mentioned his importance to the Lucha Libre style. So rest in peace to him. And I'm going to have to go YouTube some of this stuff, because I remember watching him on CML and AAA and all this stuff. So, but when we return, we're going to talk a little more SmackDown, talk about the first announced SummerSlam match, and anything more we want right here on Beyond the Ropes. We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM, KKJZ, HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 153 of Beyond the Ropes. I'm your host, Ethan, joined alongside the Analyst James Williams and producer Rob Flores. We are doing this safely in our home, as of course cases are going back up here in the state of California. Please get vaccinated, stay safe, wash your hands, social distance, wear your mask, most importantly.
It's definitely the day we're recording this on a Wednesday. The day prior, I was out at Pac-12 Media Day for college football. And just during the buildup of that changed a little bit to where by the time it kind of rolled around, we were all required to have masks and prove we were vaccinated and everything in between. One of the 12 football coaches didn't come because he decided not to get vaccinated and didn't speak too much on it. But the point being is, at least here in California, they're still taking it very strict, or at least the Pac-12 conference in that regard was taking it, with safety in mind. So obviously that's still a thing. And like Ethan said, make sure you guys are using hand sanitizer, clean your hands, wearing your mask, and all that good stuff. Wear protection.
Where they're not playing it safe. It's Florida. Rolling Loud was in Florida.
They play by their own rules down there in Florida.
Well, I know Disney World just is requiring masks indoors now, finally again, after they weren't for a while. But Rolling Loud and SmackDown, specifically WWE, had a little event together. Of course, we saw 2 matches happen at Rolling Loud for the first time ever, featuring Angelo Dawkins taking on Chad Gable, and SmackDown Women's Champion Bianca Belair defending against Carmella. I was seeing different things about this. The crowd, there are people saying the crowd wasn't into it. And then I saw someone who was actually in the crowd. I saw her tweets saying there were a number of people that were into it, specifically the bigger spots, they would, pop for that. So I don't know. It was a mixed thing.
I mean, it's a mixed thing. I mean, you're there to watch, whoever the Corey LeRae or whoever the famous. I think that's who actually.
Leroy. Come on now.
Leroy, whatever. I don't know. I can't keep up with all the. I can't keep up with all the cool kids nowadays, right? But I think she or someone, the baby, someone was performed right before, was performing right after the SmackDown matches. But with that being said, so when you
Wale was there
now. They're waiting there. Wale's there. You're waiting for your favorite artist, and then you get stuck watching a wrestling match. I mean, yeah, it's gonna throw you off a little bit. Maybe it's a little unexpected, but in a way too, that's how you kind of open up to a new crowd. Or at the same time, when you hear the audience is maybe 50-50, but they are reacting to the big spots. That's kind of almost what a casual fan is, or that's how they become a casual fan. And WWE is aware of that, and they kind of want those casual eyeballs because, I mean, again, casual fans are also this additional set of eyes that always pop up when WrestleMania season comes around and everything else in between. So I don't know if they're too worried about it. It's a good experience and a good experiment. I mean, at the same time, you're exposing the WWE universe to whatever Rolling Loud is in that name. So it goes both ways. I mean, I'm almost surprised we didn't see a performance, unless we did, on SmackDown for any of the Rolling Loud stuff. Did we? We didn't. So it didn't go entirely both ways, but it is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of trying to get the audience, I guess, to watch or into the product, talk AEW for a second, because I completely forgot. I think we were kind of on the air as we did talk about it, the potential 2 signees that they were getting. At least one seems to be guaranteed at this point, and I think the other's probably there if he isn't. We're talking Daniel Bryan, now probably known as Bryan Danielson. Apparently signed a contract after a couple of weeks of discussion, and CM Punk has been teased as of tonight's AEW Dynamite, saying they're going to have their first Rampage show, which is their second. Technically their 4th show, but their second television show on Fridays. It's going to be held in Chicago. And Darby Allin even said he's challenging the Surprise or whoever it is. And he even mentioned, I don't care if you're the best in the world. You have to prove that you're the best in the world. So they've just dropped all the hints. It has to be CM Punk at this point, doesn't it?
Yes and no. I mean, they could just be trolling. I mean, but at the same time, do we know for sure Daniel Bryan is coming? I haven't seen any official.
I think he's
Daniel
the one
Bryan
that's confirmed.
But they haven't seen the image that says he's all elite or whatever.
Well, they don't want to spoil the surprise.
But at the same time, though, is it a surprise? I mean, is it a surprise though? I mean, there's all this talk. If he shows up, I mean, it's not going to be a surprise. It's just a surprise on whether or not he shows up. Or
it's where he shows up. It's a surprise, I guess.
Yeah, yes and no. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm starting to think maybe that's why the Bellas didn't get renewed either, because maybe he really is going to AEW. I don't know. I have to see it to believe it, to be honest. Or I need to see the graphic. I need to see an official announcement before I believe either one of them are actually in AEW. But it does seem that way. I think, too, this is maybe like just the longest kind of chatter or talk that's been around. Usually we don't get kind of rumors or chatter on someone coming in. They just show up and we're like, oh, You know what I mean? So maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's just like there's never been any kind of rumor discussion, at least that not that I'm aware of. It was just kind of like, oh my God, so and so did what? So yeah, maybe that's part of it for me, but I just don't believe it yet.
We'll see. I'm interested, but I'm at the same time I'm not, because I don't really have any dream matches for either one.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
mm-hmm. I mean, has any one of them been with Kenny Omega before? I mean, maybe Daniel Bryan, I think, has maybe wrestled
in
Kenny
early
Omega.
years, probably, but
right. If anything,
I just don't have any interest in it.
I mean, I would be interested. I mean, is it gonna make me watch AEW every week? Is it gonna make?
Here's the thing: they would have that match on a pay-per-view. I'm not paying $50 for an AEW pay-per-view anyway.
That's true.
I'm not going to pay. And CM Punk, he's probably going to work at Brock Lesnar's schedule. There's no way he's working full time.
Yeah, I would think so too. And part of me just wonders where is CM Punk at? I mean, just for as much as he's coming back, like, you know, if he's come back, is he in ring shape? Does he have the passion to be training for that at all? I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of like, where would his commitment be? Not saying that he wouldn't be committed, but is he still in ring shape? Can he still perform? I mean, it's just been so long. And that's the same thing I kind of worry about with Cena too. We talk about Cena returning and just him coming back and doing the promos. And I was kind of like, okay, the promo's still kind of there. I don't
Cena's
remember.
been wrestling dark matches apparently.
Dark match. Yeah.
So I mean, he has to be at least getting in ring shape if he's not.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna imagine he's still very active, and not like the last time he wrestled has been 7 years.
Yeah.
CM Punk has been 7 years. Rob here in the chat mentioned Punk versus Cabana first. I don't think they were friends the last time they had an interaction.
They definitely weren't. That
would be an awkward one.
And then, and again, I mean, does Punk want to go? I'm not saying Colt Cabana. I mean, I almost think maybe you get rid of Colt if that's stipulation and getting Punk. If that's what it came down to, I would think maybe, I don't know.
But you could just keep them completely separate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know too much about Colt Cabana. I know he does the podcast. I know he can be kind of popular, but I'm just like, you know, is anyone worried about Colt Cabana walking down the street? Like, am I worried? I don't know. He doesn't look like someone who would.
He seems like a very friendly individual.
He seems almost too friendly. Yeah, I'm not worried about Colt Cabana.
It's Punk that we're worried about.
Yeah, I mean, he's
been known to be a bit of a diva. I mean, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, a little bit, but I don't know. It just depends. I mean, he said they didn't treat him right in WWE health-wise, or whatever his health condition was, or whatever injury he had, and
sure.
I'd make a think about it too. But I just need to see him. I need to see him come down to the ring. I need to see him in a ring. I need to know it's official before I can get too excited about it. But if it happens, it happens. I think it'd be great. Again, I was talking to some people about it. I told you my DMs. I had people in my DMs that when we recorded the last show, as that news was kind of starting to come out, or the rumors of it were starting to come out, and I was telling people this just has WCW vibes. You just keep adding people. I don't see people getting released. Not that people have to be. I don't know. I'm just kind of in the middle. I need to see something happen. I don't know. There's just too much of a WCW vibe for me with them bringing in Eric Bischoff, Sting. You're bringing in new. I'm surprised they didn't bring Goldberg in, to be honest. But I think he's on a contract. If not, Goldberg will be over there too, because why not? Everyone else is doing it. So we'll see. I'm just not sold on it. No, I mean, you don't pass on Daniel Bryan, but you don't pass on CM Punk either. If they're there, you take them. But I don't know.
As we mentioned, at a certain point, they got to start cutting people. Even though, yes, they technically have 4 shows. Apparently, these dark elevation shows on YouTube, they have like 18 matches per show. So,
yeah, who's watching? Like, what are the views on them? I would think that you would show the views on there, right? I mean, I'd have to look it up and see what kind of viewership they're getting. But at the same time, I'm just kind of like, I mean, you know, you're getting AEW. You're already doing these 4 shows, or you said 4 shows, second televised show. And it sounds good, and people just think because the second show is coming along, that means AEW is doing good, or they want a second show. Eric Bischoff has said before, I believe it was on his podcast, Or I don't know if it was one where he was talking to Jericho or Austin on their podcast, but Eric Bischoff has said it wasn't his idea to do the Thunder show. That show was sprung on him because Nitro was doing as well as it was for TNT. So they thought they can just make Thunder and have the same result. And that might not have entirely been the case. And Eric Bischoff then had to come up with a second kind of programming or script or whatever. And you know, is that, again, this is TNT again. Different people, but
is AEW burning themselves out? Are they going too fast right now?
I think they are. I think they are. I really think, especially, look, you're coming off a pandemic, right? I mean, you had your first year. Everyone's excited about your first year. There's all the hype on it. People are ready to watch something different. Now you're on the other end of the pandemic. You're going to start having fans again. You really need to kind of stick to your gun to kind of show what AEW is and is about. But obviously, you want to grow at the same time. So you're adding new people. You're bringing in new people. I think was this on Jim Cornette's podcast, YouTube thing? I think they said I think Jim Cornette even said, I think he thinks Vince might just be releasing people, so AEW will sign him. And
he's throwing everything there. He's wasting his money on them. Yes,
and so he's like, go ahead, get rid of Braun Strowman, let them sign Braun Strowman, give Braun $2 million.
Exactly.
So I mean, it could totally be a Vince thing. I mean, you got that many people, you weren't using half the people that you're getting rid of anyways. So sure, they're gonna go make big money. I mean, again, isn't that more or less what the WCW WWE Monday Night War was? Yeah, maybe these weren't all people that Vince was releasing, but these were people that were leaving WWE, going to WCW, getting more money. And what happened? They decided to make a second show. They decided to go all in with everything else. And eventually they get ran out of business. It's kind of like you're not going to defeat Vince McMahon. And that's the thing Impact didn't realize right away. I mean, they didn't want to recognize it right away. You're not going to beat Vince McMahon, but you just need to do your own thing. And not to say that AEW isn't, but I don't know. Develop your own stars. Tell me a star that AEW has helped create since it's kind of been around. They still have only had 2-3 champions, right? 3. Omega's the 3rd.
It's been Jericho, Moxley, Omega, yeah.
And
Omega is a homegrown talent.
He's not a homegrown talent. He's not really a WWE guy. He was in WWE for a little bit.
He was more of a New Japan grown talent, I guess, if you want to say that.
So who is your first, would Darby Allin count if he became your champion? Is he?
Hangman Page, maybe.
Maybe. So I'm just like, yeah, I mean, those are guys. I mean, I've never heard of Darby Allin until AEW.
Same.
Hangman I may have heard of before.
He was in Bullet Club with them. So I mean, but he wasn't, as popular as he was now.
So that's kind of just right.
MJF possibly. I mean, he was kind of known before AEW, but
I didn't know too much about him other than maybe he was on an Austin podcast back in the day before AEW was really around. But yeah, I mean, you need an MJF to be your champion in order for you to kind of start getting some of these guys to be your own. Because at this point, what are you doing that WWE hasn't done?
If guys like Punk and Bryan come in, one of them, if not
one of them,
both of them is going to end up being a champion. I'm going to say one of them is going to be Kenny Omega. I think that's just going to happen right away.
Yeah, they would have to. I mean, that's the only way you're going to have, I mean, because right now, who is Kenny Omega going up against that is
Hangman, I believe, is next. I'm a couple of weeks behind, but I believe they're doing something there with Dark Order and the Elite. So, I guess Hangman could win it.
Hangman was the one that was in the tag team with Omega, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's that little. I mean, yeah. So maybe that's a little bit of a storyline to maybe where Hangman.
It would be Punk. It would be Punk or Bryan, I would assume, if they do get signed. So again, it would be more, I mean, you're relying on older guys.
You're relying on older guys.
Names, but you are relying on other talent made in a different company.
Right. Right.
So to the question, is AEW burning themselves out too soon? It's possible they might get a ratings boost with two potential new signees. They might get some popularity, but how long is that going to last, honestly?
How long is it going to last? And I want to also bring up, while we still got a minute or two before break here, but yeah, some people have even made the argument that the same thing could have been said about WWE over the past couple of years, and them not having any named stars coming in. I mean, you're getting a Kevin Owens, you're getting a Sami Zayn, and maybe their characters weren't exactly the same, but these guys have some recognition from other companies. They're coming in, and obviously they're taking some of those top or upper cards or main card spots, I guess you can say. But Roman is a good example, as far as I'm concerned, of someone who's a WWE homegrown guy.
Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks.
And so there you go. I mean, but I guess maybe that conversation was more related to the next John Cena. But I mean, how many people are going to be the next John Cena or The Rock? You know what I mean? I mean, that's hard to come by. But at the same time, you're starting to get that with Roman Reigns.
Absolutely. So when we return, we'll talk another returning individual returning to the ring. All that and more right here on Beyond the Ropes. We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM KKJZ HD3 Long Beach, Los Angeles. We're back with episode 153 of Beyond the Ropes. I'm your host, Ethan, joined alongside the analyst, James Williams, and producer, Rob Flores. You can follow the show at RealBTR Radio on Twitter, Facebook.com/Beyond the Ropes, and of course, just search up Beyond the Ropes on YouTube. Let's talk about the returning Samoa Joe. It's official.
I've been telling y'all for how many weeks now, the minute this man returned to the WWE, he had to get in the ring. And it goes to show you, though, that, I mean, maybe he put pressure on him, but he had been cleared. They just, for whatever reason, didn't want to put him in the ring. But all of a sudden,
they're trying to be safe.
Oh yeah, but when it comes to, again, we talked a little bit about the AEW stuff in the last segment, but they didn't want to lose Samoa Joe, and so they bring him back. They kind of play it up like he's going to be in this sort of enforcer role, but we all knew what was coming, and I'm glad they did it. I'm glad that he signed his part of the contract. I don't know if Cross did, but again, it makes me a little mad about what they did with Cross on his debut with Raw. I think things have gone a little different since then.
Right, you're still upset about that? Because because Keith Lee jobbed out once again. Yeah, that's what I heard. So and that made me really didn't want to tune in on Monday Night Raw, because I do hear, because 2 weeks ago now, To be fair, before we continue, it was a solid match. It wasn't a complete squash. He took a couple of finishes, took the suplex, the elbow, and the submission. So,
and was this not the match that needed to happen, or because Cross beat him for the title, right? And then didn't he? Correct. And then that's when he got hurt. Okay.
Yes. So apparently. Okay. Because apparently, Jeff Hardy. He is apparently did test positive for COVID. We'll say that. So we didn't get to hear no more words. His theme song. But apparently he was apparently scheduled to defeat Karrion Kross again.
Really? I see now. I see. There's no way they can. They would have just buried the man, and then you're gonna have him be a monster on NXT, right? But what I need to know, Ethan, please. Do they have Scarlett there?
I think the story going in is he's going to lose until, at least the plan was, until obviously Jeff got sick. The plan was probably for him to lose, and then Scarlett show up, and then he starts winning or something.
Okay. So if that's the case, then I'm okay with that. I guess, kind of. Not really, because you're still kind of burying the dude a little bit.
A little bit.
But if you put I was going to say crutch, but that's not a crutch. But if you bring Scarlett, I mean, that's almost no different than what a Paul Bearer Undertaker thing was, right? It's almost the same. I'm okay. I would be okay with that. That would make some sense to me. But if it was anything other than that, I don't want it. There's just no reason. If she comes at all and joins him, there needs to be a story. If this story goes anything with him going further, there needs to be a story as to why she hasn't been there. But then you also got to show enough on NXT, and I just don't get it.
Karrion Kross is totally dropping that title of Samoa Joe at TakeOver 36.
Has to. I mean, it doesn't have to, but I just think it would.
It's the most logical story, I think, at this point. I've enjoyed the way they've slowly brought Joe back into the fold. I think it's probably the best way, rather than just have him show up. Hey, he's back as a wrestler.
Would you say
you build
that?
It up.
Would you call it a slow build? Part of me almost thinks maybe it's a little too fast. I know I've been saying he needs to get back in the ring, but I don't know. Maybe it's a little too. I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm okay with him being in the ring. And we're talking about. I mean, I would like to see Samoa Joe win. Do I think it's a guarantee he'll win? Maybe not. Only because maybe. I mean, the obvious thing would be him winning, because if Kross is going to be on Raw, but. The thing that comes to mind is, what has Kross's resume looked like since being the champion? Like, who has he beat? I think if he beats a guy like Samoa Joe, then that's good. I mean, he beat Finn Balor once, maybe twice. And then, so he beat him twice, and then he beat...
He beat Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne. He beat all those guys in that five-way match. Technically, yeah, and then he beat Gargano individually.
I'm talking about like guys he put down like one-on-one that were like match, like that built his run. I mean, he's a monster. Let's not get it twisted. But I'm just thinking
he's undefeated in NXT.
He is undefeated in NXT, but I'm just thinking like, what kind of run has it really been? That's the kind of way I'm kind of looking at it.
It's been an all right run. Karrion Kross isn't the most dynamic individual in the ring, as it's been noted by a number of NXT superstars in the promos. But, I mean, he's an interesting character. He can be, when written well.
He can be, but that should that be something we should be concerned about with him going to the main run, let alone he lost his debut match on Monday Night Raw.
Absolutely.
And that's the first time anyone sees him. They just think he's Doug Basham or something. So
don't compare it to Doug Basham, please.
So I'm just saying, what are we doing here? But so again, I was upset with the way Keith Lee lost. I was upset with the way Kross lost on Raw the other 2 weeks ago now. So now that you have them in the ring together, one of them gets a win. I'm kind of sad it wasn't Keith Lee, but it is what it is. That's fine. I don't get the Scarlet thing, but whatever. I'm glad Samoa Joe is back on NXT.
Let's talk about SummerSlam weekend. So SummerSlam weekend will, I guess, I'm not going to say conclude because there's still Monday Night Raw, but on Sunday it will be NXT TakeOver 36 live from the Capitol Wrestling Center. Shame they're not doing it in an arena, because also confirmed for that show is the NXT UK Championship match between Walter and Ilya Dragunov, who, they had a phenomenal match last fall when they were competing in NXT UK. It's great that they're going to have some sort of crowd and a bigger platform to do it in, but it's a shame that they're not doing the event in a stadium like they probably should. They're going to be doing it in the center. So.
And is Walter still the champion?
Walter is still the champion. He's been there for 1,000 days, has it been? Something like that. This is going to be the title change. Is there any
reason? Well, yeah, I was going to say, is there any reason why he would still be holding his belt at the end of it? You got to put him on a Raw or SmackDown at this point. I mean, even if you put him on, I guess he kind of has maybe been on NXT or not really, right?
He not really. A little bit. He's going to be on NXT. I think they're going to officially move him to NXT because the two guys are there.
That's great. Put him on NXT. Maybe not with Samoa Joe right away, but I think that would be one heck of a
potentially match. That could be the next match.
If you need, you know what I mean though, but that's what I'm saying. If you need someone for Samoa Joe's next opponent, you say what you want, Kross is the monster, yada yada yada, and then you have Walter kind of bust down the door as your next opponent. I mean, things have just gotten real. And I don't know if there would be a style clash there or not, but
I think Walter can work with just about anyone,
and I think Samoa Joe can work with just about anybody. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no reason why these two couldn't have a great match.
Absolutely, I agree. But yeah, it looks like that match will be happening at TakeOver as well. We saw a betrayal happen. Dakota Kai took out her now former friend, Raquel Gonzalez, who is the current NXT Women's Champion. And it looks like we're going to be seeing that match at TakeOver 36.
And I've been telling y'all for weeks, this same thing. It was going to happen. And this also more or less continues the trend of what Dusty Rhodes Classic winners who have been partners and end up splitting up not too long after. You got the other, you got the men's tag team. Is that MSK or whatever?
MSK, but you mentioned the Dusty Cup winners. Samoa Joe and Finn Balor were the first Dusty Cup winners. Samoa Joe then, of course, defeated Finn Balor for that NXT championship just a few months later after he betrayed him. So,
right. And I think what made the Authors of Pain, win once, and maybe they didn't have a split.
No, but it's happened. You mentioned
it's happened more often than not. And you almost don't need a Dusty Cup Classic to tell that there was going to be some tension at some point between Raquel and Dakota Kai, just because they're partners, they're doing tag team stuff. As far as I was concerned, Dakota Kai was the leader or the main focal point of the partnership when they first got together. It's almost a Shawn Michaels Diesel thing. It's kind of like Raquel's just the bodyguard or whatever, but now Raquel's a champion. It's now Raquel plus Dakota Kai or with Dakota Kai. You know what I mean? Dakota is just kind of the afterthought in the whole situation. So yeah, I'm not surprised that it happened, and I'm curious to see where it goes. So
I can't wait to see Raquel job to our bestie, our hero Dakota Kai.
Do you think she's got? Say what you want.
I'll be honest. I don't think it. I don't think she has a chance, honestly.
Who? Dakota Kai? To be fair, though, so
I'm a big fan of hers.
What does Raquel's run look like?
How many everyone? She's opposite of Karrion Kross.
Every time I've seen her, it's been like a tag team match.
She's defeated. So give me 1 second.
Everything I've seen has been like a tag team match with her. Maybe she has one-on-one matches, but again, who really is there to compete with her? I forget who they have in there now, but anyone that comes to mind, I'm just like, nah, she would beat any of them. The only one that stands out is Mercedes Martinez would probably be the only one that I think could give her. And they're both kind of I don't know if I want to say the same, but they're kind of.
She's defeated Mercedes.
She beat her too, though, right?
She defeated Io. She defeated. Oh my God, I'm forgetting her name. From her last defense was against from Tian Shaw. Oh my God, I'm completely forgetting.
I think I know who you're talking about, though.
Xylee. She's defeated. Trying to forget who else she's defeated, but she's defeated a number of competitors.
She's having one-on-one matches, and that's good because every time I see NXT or hear anything about it, it's always a tag team match with Dakota on the apron. So that's cool. I guess that's fine. I just, you got Frankie there. Frankie could be someone who can hold the title or next. Yeah, you got Mandy Rose. Whatever.
Who apparently now has a new stable.
Yeah, well, wait, wasn't this the thing, or is this a new stable?
Her own stable.
Wasn't she with someone else last time, or did something change, or is this what we talked about last week?
So, Frankie has the Robert Stone brand, with Jesse Kamea, and apparently Mandy has now 2 new competitors join her. They've appeared on NXT like once or twice, but they're good wrestlers, so they're obviously ready. But she has her own new group, I guess. So it's interesting. You lose some women, obviously with Shotzi and Knox, and so you bring some up, and that's why NXT Women's Division is where what it is. But yeah, so it's interesting to see where they're going to go from there.
Can we talk about the pro golfer that is Cameron Grimes? Did you watch that segment?
Let's talk about. Say it with me, James.
Cameron Grimes.
It doesn't work like that. You got to do it like this.
It's like this. This is the Cameron Grimes thing. You hold both your hands together. You go Cameron Grimes.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I heard $1 Million Man give him some motivational speech, some raw gimmick, whatever.
I didn't. So what I saw was it was a they did a vignette with the grizzled young veterans in it. Not a vignette, but like a offshoot at the golf course gimmick. And Cameron Grimes hits this hole in one, but only as this backswing hits LA Knight in the back of the head. I think he gives him he hits him in the $1 million jewels at one point with his backswing. So LA Knight took a beating. And then I don't know. It was kind of a confusing thing. I just wanted to talk about Cameron Grimes for a little bit, but also tell me what do you know about this tournament? I think that they're having or something, because Carmelo Hayes is a name that I think they're starting to push a little bit.
He's in the next breakout tournament.
What was the tournament? Is it
the breakout tournament? He advances to the next round, so they're building up some new talent there as well.
So this is all like new the breakout. So this is all new people, or what are
a couple of them have appeared on NXT like once or twice,
like jobbers or something.
Right. Carmelo, I mean, he faced off against Kushida and Adam Cole. Of course, losing to
that's the one
Adam
I saw.
Cole, baby.
Was Cole and Carmelo. I did see that one.
So, and I think one of the other competitors also challenged Kushida at one point. So, I mean, they've had at least an appearance. I think maybe even on 205 Live, one or two.
Okay, so they're doing a little something
it's relatively new competitors in this tournament.
As we kind of wrap up the show here, I feel like we haven't talked about them enough the last couple weeks. So let's talk about Ethan's favorite, Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. First of all, I caught the highlights because there's no way I'm going to watch a full Adam Cole match. Yuck, disgusting. I'm kidding. But
the best match of the night.
But Bronson Reed and Adam Cole in that match. And
before you continue with Adam Cole,
okay,
we're getting Bobby Fish, beautiful Bobby Fish versus ravishing Roderick Strong next week.
Okay, and
that's gonna break my heart, but it's gonna happen.
Who were you going for?
I'm going for the former member of the Undisputed Era.
You're ducking the question, sir.
I answered.
I think Roddy Strong would probably win. And Ethan, Rob mentioned in the chat the same thing. I think Strong is probably going to be the one. He has the stable, he has the gimmick behind him, and all that.
Going back to the other two former Undisputed Era members.
Mm-hmm. So
Cole and go ahead.
I thought Adam Cole had, first of all, his Panama Sunrise finisher is pathetic. It's pathetic. He does it on Bronson Reed, and Bronson Reed kicks out.
Well, it's not a finisher. It's not a finisher. It has finished matches, but it's not a finisher.
Well, it didn't get the job done against Bronson Reed. Anyways, Bronson Reed and Cole continue on a little bit, but a very sweet kick that right to the face of Bronson Reed. And when you watch it, you can see the foot kind of almost drag across Bronson Reed's face. So I wanted to mention that I thought that was a really great spot in the match. While we're talking about NXT real quick, and we talked about Raw earlier, I do want to get the numbers in real quick. The viewership for NXT was 520,000. They were on Sci-Fi this week. July 27th is when that episode aired. And that was because the Olympics are going on. Can't forget about the Olympics going on. And so they were on the USA Network for some of that too. Raw was 1.8 million for the July 26th show. A pretty solid number, considering what some of them were during the pandemic. So some good stuff, some good viewership going on for the most part. NXT a little bit down, but again, it's on Sci-Fi.
Speaking of the Olympics,
yes,
on this week, 25 years ago, Kurt Angle won a gold medal with the broken freaking neck.
With the broken neck, yeah.
The broken freaking neck.
Go ahead.
No, I just want to mention some other news, but go ahead. Continue.
No. I was just going to mention they've done nothing with Chad Gable, who also was an Olympian, and he's just kind of doing it.
He's helping with the Otis push there, so
that's not that he should have his own. Never mind. Go ahead.
Congratulations to former WWE superstar Zack Ryder, aka now known as Matt Cardona, now the King of the Deathmatch. He's been doing great work on Twitter, social media, kind of riling up the Deathmatch GCW fans. He defeated Nick Gage, who faced off against Chris Jericho on AEW. So that was a big deal. He's the new GCW champion. So he's obviously getting a lot of heat there, obviously kind of defeating their favorite there. So good for him. Also, Tiffany Haddish has been announced as the host of the SummerSlam after party. So James, I mean, if we were in Vegas, we could have been there, but I guess
I'm telling you, I'm gonna be in Vegas the week before.
SMH.
I might hang out with Tiffany before. We're good buds.
Apparently. Lastly, congratulations to Titus O'Neil, who's gonna have a school named after him.
Wow.
So congrats to him, and until next time, boys and girls, say it one more time, James. L.A.
Cameron Grimes.
Too sweet.